So tour with Create Space Media. We're here in Arlington, Texas at Martin High School. I'm here with head coach, Coach Osborne, and I'm just going to ask him some questions because we're really interested in what's going on here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area when it comes to the athletes and the programs, and we really want to take a step back and show you the men behind these coaching these kids. So, Coach Osborne, thank you. First of all, thank you for your time.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for having us. And one of the questions I like to do when I first start out is I just like to ask all of my coaches, did you know when you wanted to be a coach?
Yeah, actually, okay, so to start off with, my dad he's in the oil and gas business, but he always, I grew up in Colorado, in Denver, in Littleton, Colorado.
Oh, nice.
And in Colorado, you didn't actually have to be a school teacher to coach in the high school. So he always volunteered as a high school coach wherever we went. So I was with my dad all over the place. And I started off with the guy who ended up being the winningest coach in Colorado's history. His name was Gary Goings. Wow. And so Gary was like a second dad to me. So always with my dad and Coach Goings. And then we moved here to Texas, and I went to Lancaster High School. And I've probably had maybe some of the greatest coaching mentors.
Wow.
And that anybody could also ever have. I started with Joe Rushing at Lancaster High School. We lost in the state semifinals my senior year, but he coached Thomas Hill, who played at Duke, and multiple D1 guys. Left there, went to a couple colleges before I ended up at Mary Hardin Baylor University, and ended up having a guy named Ken DeWeese be my coach my senior year there. And Ken was at McLennan Junior College. He was the winningest junior college coach in the country at that time. They were always ranked in the top 5 in the nation. He just got over his 800th win just a couple years ago. So before he retired, this is his first year retired. But coaching, I mean, being a player under him, and then I coached with him for 8 years. It was just one of those blessings for me growing up, just having coaches that make you want to coach, make you want to do that. The other thing is, and I've always said this too, I think the reality came in when I thought John Stockton was like 5'11" when I was growing up, and I realized that, and then when I found out he was like 6'3", and I looked at myself in the mirror, I said, you know what, you're not going to play in the NBA. So how can I be a part of basketball?
I think those shorts made him look 5'11".
Yeah, I think so. So then when I found out John Stockton was really like 6'3", I went, okay, well, hey, my basketball career is going to stop at some point, but I still want to be a part of basketball. So I actually, to be honest with you, when I graduated high school, I knew I wanted to college coach, and that's where I really wanted to start, was being a college coach. And I had my opportunities. I actually had an opportunity to be a film guy for the Houston Rockets when I was a college coach. Had some other opportunities to move up. And I've got a beautiful wife and some great children. I was never with them. And that's what made me go, you know what? I want to go be a high school coach where I am at least home every day. We spent a lot of hours, but I was on the road every night, all the time. My wife would tell you that. So that's what got me back to the high school level.
Wow.
Getting to be around my family.
You bringing up that point, not being around your family as much, coaching, that kind of goes into another question I like to ask all my coaches, is the cost of coaching.
Yeah.
Right. And what that looks like. A lot of people, they see the wins, they see the successes, they see, oh, you guys are great, you guys are going to the playoffs again, great job, coach. They see all of that, but they don't see the time, the sacrifice away from family, friends. Can you kind of elaborate on the cost of coaching?
Well, and it does take a toll, and I think there's some people that can handle it, and I think some can't. My wife is actually a coach at Bowles Junior High, so she understands coaching.
Basketball too?
Well, she does volleyball, basketball, track, and she's soccer. So right when I think my schedule's hard, she can remind me constantly what her schedule looks like. Yeah. So, right. But that being said, my wife was an athlete. She was an athlete in high school. She's always been interested in coaching. So I feel like I actually kind of got blessed. Right. And my kids have always immersed themselves in sports. So for me, since I have a family that's actually interested in it, it really hadn't been as probably as taxing as maybe some other people. That being said, my wife is just as invested in this as anybody in our program.
That's
I mean, she makes goodie bags for the kids. She's up here. They call her mama. You know, they hug her every time they see her. You know.
So we talked about the cost of coaching. Now you're having the opportunity to coach your youngest son, Jackson.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that? Because I've seen two extremes. I've seen the coach that, every time their son, doesn't step up on help side defense, they're just, oh my goodness, here. But if another child does that, it's like, okay, well, let's get better at that. So can you talk about the extremes or how you're going to be able to handle that?
Well, I'll tell you, I've coached him since he was this tall,
Okay.
when he first started playing. In fact, my wife coached him all through his rec league stuff, and then when he started select basketball, I kind of started to select basketball with him, and I've talked to multiple coaches that have coached their kids and asked them for advice and things like that. So one thing I've tried not to do is be harder on him than everyone else.
Yeah.
And my wife caught me one time when we were playing select basketball. We were up, and he was on fire one game, hit 3 or 4 threes, and we were up like 30. And I was telling him to hold the ball, and he did a little step back 3 with no time left.
Oh, man.
And he nailed it. And he just got all excited. And oh man, I ripped his head off right there on the sideline.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I did not want to do it. And my wife caught me afterwards. She goes, "Would you have done that to one of the other players if they would have done it?" And I go, "Yeah, you're probably right. I probably wouldn't have." And so from that point forward, again, I got a good wife. She humbles me. So that being said, from that point forward, I've really tried hard to coach him just like everybody else when he's here, and then I try to be a dad as soon as we leave, and not bring it up. And I'll tell you, my dad was great in the sense of, he never got on to me about anything basketball wise. He would just ask me, "So how do you feel like you played today?" That's all he'd ask me every time we'd get in the car. "How'd you play today?" Because he knew I knew if I played well, if I didn't play well, and then he let me talk about it, and then he would interject here and there, but he always just kind of let me talk, and so I got to remember to do that, because right now he's on the JV, he's not with me on the varsity, but next year when he comes on the varsity, our relationship changes again.
Yeah.
And so it'll be an interesting dynamic, but I think it could be probably the best 2 years of my life when it comes time. I'm hoping for that.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely wish you and him success in that regard. You talked about the varsity, so tell me 3 things the guy needs to play for your team.
Okay.
3 habits.
Yeah. Well, one thing we always talk about is being punctual. Don't be late. Don't make us wonder where you are. Be committed to the entire program, and we talk about what commitment is, and it's not just being here and practicing and showing up for games. It's getting your grades done. So we're not worried about that. Be committed to everything we're teaching, and make sure that you're trying to perform it exactly how we're asking you to perform it. And and when other people on the back end, because we all know there's a group of people up in the stands that think what we're doing is great, and there's a group of people that don't, and some of those are our parents, and that's fine, and they're going to go home and they're going to hear that. But if they're committed to what we're doing, then they can listen to it and then just come in here with an open mind, ready to go. Okay, yeah, let's do what we're supposed to do. The last thing I would say is we talk about having humility within our program. We want you to have humility, and what I mean by that is be willing to say, you know what, I didn't do well, I need to get better. And I talked to the guys about that on myself. When we lost to Lamar last week, first thing I told them is I'm going to go evaluate myself, and what did I not do as a coach to help us out here. And each one of you as a player need to have that humility as well, because if you don't have it, you really can't grow. So we talk about humility all the time, and so I would think those 3 things are the major components.
Fantastic. Coach, I've spoken to several other coaches, and one of the things I'm hearing now is, especially even in high school now, heard about it in college often, but they're saying it's like the wild, wild west now. They're like, kids are transferring at an alarming rate in high school. I mean, in college, you know, the transfer portal is a whole different ball of wax. But have you been seeing that, and have you experienced it? What are some of your thoughts on that?
We've experienced it a little bit. We had a player here 2 years ago that decided to go to Connecticut and try to do a prep school there, and he ended up coming back.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a couple kids transfer in. Really haven't had anybody really transfer out. We did have one from last year's team, but it was all because of Corona, and he went back he lived with his aunt here, and he decided to go back and live with his mom over Corona, and then his mom asked him to stay. So he's back and clean. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I know it happens a lot, and we as coaches always blame AAU. We blame AAU all the time because kids aren't happy on their AAU team, and they're like, well, I'm just going to go find another AAU team, or I'm going to go find another AAU team, and then they all start buddying together and trying to go to schools together and all this other kind of stuff, and you know, it's almost kind of like high school basketball has almost become like the NBA in a sense, where all these guys are trying to combine onto these super groups and these super teams, and it almost feels like kids are trying to do that in high school as well. And I didn't see that when I was in high school. I know it happened a little bit here and there. But you know, the sense of playing for your school and your community and all that was really big when I was in school. AAU wasn't nearly the size, so I understand why they think AAU is a culprit of this, and I do think it is. There is a feeling at times that you're recruiting your kids when they're at your school to stay.
Wow.
Because you know if they're talented, there's people always talking to them saying, hey, you should go here, you should go here, you should go there. So we've just come to the approach here at Martin that we are preparing kids to be college athletes. So our feeling is if we're doing that and we're putting kids in college to play basketball, then we're the destination, and if you're here, you're not going to want to leave because you know that we're giving you the time to do that, and we're going to give you the effort to do that. But you know, again, we love on our kids. We make sure they know how much they mean to us and our families, and if we treat them as family, we hope that they stay and they don't start seeking that other kind of those other opportunities. And that's just kind of the way we've dealt with it here. I'm not going to say that we're never going to lose one or somebody's not going to leave, but to me, I think Martin's a destination of a school that you want to go. I think that this is where people would want to go play basketball, and I think we play great style. I think we teach the kids how to be college basketball players, and Coach Hall and myself and some of my other assistants, we leave this place open all the time.
Wow.
So kids also understand when you come to Martin, if they need to get in the gym's open. I mean, we're going to be here, and we put the time and effort into it. And I think coaches that are losing kids, if they really, again, if you want to have some humility about yourself and really look and reflect and things like that, did you spend the time building relationships? Did you spend the time making sure that the kids could access everything they need to access? And if you didn't, then that might be part of the issue.
Wow, that's huge, right? So
Yeah.
it goes back to the relationships with the kids, which is definitely a big part of it. You mentioned grassroots basketball. I don't want to spend a lot of time there, but quickly, do you think the overexposure, or do you think that there is a problem with overexposure? Because these kids are grassroots, they're playing 3-4 games a day or in a weekend, easy.
Right. Yeah, well, you know, kids play so much more basketball now than ever. And it's something that we've always talked about. Like in our off season, we spend so much time in working on skill development because kids don't do that as much anymore. You know, you got a lot of kids that can do all these different moves, but they can't shoot. You know, and then so because they spend so much time playing, they don't. I spent my time as a kid in a sweaty little cracker box of a gym in Lancaster, Texas, with no air conditioner and a big fan, spending 6 to 8 hours just shooting, ball handling, shooting, all by myself, and then finding games when I could. Now kids just play, and then they go to trainers to get some of that other stuff. They don't do enough of the other stuff. You know, and I hope I'm answering your question how you want me to, but you know, I just think in today's world, it's all about how can you get on the floor and who's watching you. And what can I put on my Instagram? What can I put, you know, and all these kids that have great, you know, that are considered greats, they have these accounts all over the place, and it shows all their highlights and all their plays and every time they shoot. And, you know, sadly enough, I told my son, hey, you got an Instagram account where you're just firing the ball up? Because, you know, college coaches look at it, and they're playing the system that they know helps them get to the next level, and that's all they're doing. It's really not a change in what kids are trying to accomplish. It's a change in the system, and the kids know how to change and adapt to that system.
Wow.
And so I think to me, grassroots basketball has just completely changed, because you've got 10-year-olds with Instagram accounts watching them break somebody's ankles.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what they're living for. They're trying to get to that. So I really wish, and I've told my son this, there's a driveway out there. You can become a better basketball player.
Right.
And so I try to emphasize that. But that's not where basketball is anymore.
Yeah.
It's who's your trainer? How often do you work out with him? What is he teaching you? And then what can you put on your Instagram and Snapchat or whatever? I don't know. I don't have any of that stuff, so I don't even know how it all works. So, so for the entire world to see what you did.
Coach, I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you so much for taking the time out to visit with us. We definitely want to be back next year to see how you guys are doing, see how everything's going with you and Jackson.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also want to give your wife an award, a Mother of the Year award for all that she does for you.
She definitely deserves it.
Coaching 5 different teams and also making goodie bags for your team,
Yeah.
which is amazing. But again, thank you so much. We appreciate it.